The real story of her death is that she drowned, and nobody knows.
At 81 years old, Christopher Walken has finally spoken out about one of Hollywood's most talked-about tragedies, the death of Natalie Wood.
Everyone, tonight our metropolitan area and the whole world mourns the death of 43-year-old movie actress Natalie Wood. Miss Wood won the hearts and minds of fans of the silver screen.
For over 4 decades, questions and speculation have surrounded what really happened on that night back in 1981. Now, Walken is offering his version of the events, providing insight into what led to one of the saddest losses in entertainment history.
Legendary actress Natalie Wood. Well, today, pressure is on Wagner to speak with investigators.
What do you think happened to Natalie Wood that night on your boat?
Just days before the 40th anniversary of Natalie Wood's unexplained death, pressure around the case was building again. For many years, actor Robert Wagner has tried to push back against suspicions that he played a role in the 1981 death of his wife, the famous actress Natalie Wood. Natalie Wood was one of the most admired actresses in the film industry. Born on July 20, 1938, in San Francisco, she started acting as a child and landed her first major role at just 8 years old in Miracle on 34th Street, 1947. That film launched her career and made her one of the top child stars of her era. As she matured, Natalie moved into adult roles with ease and became a major name in Hollywood throughout the 1950s and 60s. One of her most memorable performances was as Maria in West Side Story, 1961, a role that earned her widespread praise and solidified her status as a Hollywood icon. During her career, she received 3 Academy Award nominations, an impressive feat for someone so young at the time. Outside of her work, Natalie's personal life drew plenty of public interest. She was married to actor Robert Wagner twice, first in 1957 and again in 1972 after a short divorce. Their relationship was highly publicized, as they were considered one of the top celebrity couples during that period. They had a daughter together. Though their marriage looked picture-perfect from the outside, it had its share of issues. In 1981, Natalie was working on the film Brainstorm with Christopher Walken. During a break from shooting, Natalie, Wagner, Walken, and the yacht's captain, Dennis Davern, took a weekend trip aboard the yacht Splendor. Sadly, that trip ended in tragedy. On the night of November 28, 1981, Natalie Wood drowned near Santa Catalina Island in unexplained circumstances. Her body was found floating in the water the next morning, just a mile from the anchored yacht. It wasn't just the heartbreaking loss that drew attention. It was the strange and unanswered questions that followed. That evening had been planned as a quiet retreat for Natalie, Wagner, Walken, and Captain Davern. The group had decided to spend a relaxing weekend aboard Splendor, which was anchored near Santa Catalina Island off the coast of California. What began as a peaceful evening among friends quickly turned into a night that would be talked about for decades. Earlier that day, the group had enjoyed drinks and dinner at a local restaurant on the island. People who saw them said they seemed to be in good spirits, with nothing appearing out of the ordinary. However, as the evening went on, things reportedly became tense, especially between Wagner and Walken. Some reports claim an argument broke out, with Wagner growing suspicious that Walken was getting too close to Natalie. The disagreement, possibly fueled by alcohol, reportedly escalated once they were back on the yacht. According to accounts, the argument didn't stop once they returned to Splendor. Feeling uneasy about the situation, Natalie is said to have gone to her cabin below deck. While the full details of what happened next remain uncertain, it's believed that Wagner and Walken continued to argue on the deck. Captain Davern later said he heard raised voices coming from above. Whether the disagreement was about personal or professional matters isn't entirely clear, but it seems the tension that night was serious. By the time anyone noticed Natalie was no longer on the yacht, it was already too late. Wagner later said he hadn't realized she had left the boat until much later, when her absence was finally noticed. Search operations started, and in the early hours of November 29th, her body was discovered floating in the water. The official report listed the cause of death as accidental drowning, but speculation quickly followed. Some accounts claimed that Wood may have been trying to get away after an argument. Others thought she might have slipped while trying to tie down a dinghy that had come loose from the yacht. The bruises found on her body raised more questions, causing many to wonder if more had happened that night than anyone was letting on. Still, the events on that boat remain a matter of debate. The investigation into Natalie Wood's death began shortly after her body was recovered, on the morning of November 29, 1981. Authorities found her floating in the water roughly a mile from the yacht's Splendor. At first, it looked like a tragic accident. She had been drinking that evening, and the weather conditions were cold and the waters rough. These details led investigators to believe she had likely slipped and fallen into the water, while either trying to secure the dinghy or while attempting to leave the boat. The coroner's findings supported the idea of an accidental drowning. It stated that alcohol was present in her system and that she had bruises on her arms and legs. However, these injuries were explained as likely occurring during the fall into the water. The case was closed quickly, with the conclusion that her death was an unfortunate accident. Officials did not believe there was any foul play. The public was shocked. Natalie Wood wasn't just another actress. She was a major Hollywood icon. Her sudden death sent a wave of disbelief through the film industry, and media coverage exploded. Newspapers around the world reported the loss of one of Hollywood's most well-known stars. Fans mourned, and the news left many stunned. Even so, the initial explanation didn't sit right with everyone. From the start, there were doubts about how she had really ended up in the water. How could someone like Natalie, who was both experienced with boats and known to be afraid of dark water, end up alone in the ocean late at night? And the bruises, were they really from an accidental fall? Or did they point to something more disturbing? The media attention only stirred the pot. Rumors spread quickly, and new theories started to form. Some people suggested that a disagreement between Wagner and Walken may have gotten physical, while others thought Natalie had been trying to flee a domestic dispute. Captain Dennis Davern's unclear comments added more confusion. He later admitted he didn't fully remember all the details himself, but even as time passed, the questions didn't fade, and neither did the rumors. For over 4 decades, Christopher Walken has stayed mostly quiet about what happened the night Natalie Wood died. Though he's briefly spoken on the topic during a few interviews, he has never offered a full account of his version of events. His choice to stay silent has only made the situation more puzzling, leaving people to wonder why he never chose to speak out. Walken's silence led to constant speculation. Some thought he was protecting those involved. Others believed he wanted to avoid being caught deeper in the controversy. Since he was on the yacht that night with Natalie and her husband, Robert Wagner, Walken naturally became part of the narrative. Despite all the public interest, he avoided making any major statements, which only led to more curiosity and suspicion. One possible reason for Walken's silence could be his close ties with both Natalie Wood and Robert Wagner. Walken and Wood had worked together in Brainstorm and developed a strong friendship during filming. He has always spoken well of her, calling her a skilled actress and a trusted friend. His relationship with Wagner was less straightforward. The two were said to be friendly, but the tension on the yacht that night may have left a lasting effect. Walken might have chosen to remain silent to avoid adding more pain to an already difficult situation. Over the years, Walken has dismissed questions about the incident in interviews, insisting that what happened was simply a tragic accident. He has claimed there was nothing that could have been done to stop it. Part of his unwillingness to speak publicly might also be due to the legal and investigative side of the case. As someone who was there, Walken was questioned by the authorities and may have decided it was best to let them handle the matter rather than comment in the media. Still, his decision to stay quiet only made the public more curious about his role in what happened. Theories about what he might have seen or known started to grow, and some people even accused him of hiding something. Whether it was out of respect for Natalie Wood or a desire to stay out of the controversy, Walken's silence kept him tied to the speculation. His refusal to talk openly led to many conspiracy theories. But what does he say now? In 2011, nearly 3 decades after Natalie Wood's death, the case saw a major update. The Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department decided to reopen the investigation after receiving new information from Dennis Davern, the yacht captain who had been present with Wood, Wagner, and Walken that night. This unexpected move renewed public interest and raised new questions about what really happened. Davern's testimony played a key role in the case being reopened. Back in 1981, he had mostly supported the idea that Wood drowned by accident. But in 2011, he stepped forward with new claims, saying that he had left out important information during the first investigation. He now said that Wagner and Wood had a serious argument that night, one that escalated shortly before Wood disappeared. Davern also implied that Wagner might have been directly involved in her falling overboard. These claims brought new doubt to the original version of events, which had ruled the death as a tragic mishap. His updated account strengthened long-held rumors that more had happened than what was officially stated. The Sheriff's Department said they would re-examine the case with a fresh approach based on the new claims. Walken, who had mostly avoided public attention related to the investigation, was once again brought into the spotlight as one of the few people who had been on the yacht. His account was important to piecing together what might have occurred. Walken did speak with authorities and gave his version of what took place. Still, he maintained that Natalie Wood's death was nothing more than a sad accident. He continued to downplay any suggestion that either he or Wagner played a role in it, saying again that her fall into the water was a deeply unfortunate accident. The reopening of the case brought more attention to Wagner. In 2018, the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department officially listed Wagner as a person of interest, although no charges have been filed against him. Wagner has always denied having anything to do with Natalie Wood's death, but public suspicion grew once again. The renewed investigation didn't just place Wagner under scrutiny. It also brought Christopher Walken back into the spotlight as many began to question what role, if any, he may have had in what happened that night. With the case open once more, a wave of fresh questions and uncertainties followed. After staying silent for years, Christopher Walken finally spoke about the events leading up to Natalie Wood's death. In a recent interview, Walken shared his thoughts about that night in 1981, expressing his sadness over losing a friend, and firmly stating that her death was nothing but a tragic accident. His statement comes after decades of speculation, and although his version of events offers some insight into what he believes happened, it hasn't cleared up all the lingering doubts. Walken said he remembered the events of that evening clearly. The group had spent the night drinking and relaxing on the yacht, Splendor. At some point, tensions rose between Wagner and Wood, and an argument broke out. Walken said he stayed out of it, thinking it was a private matter between the two. According to him, after Wood walked away to head to her cabin, he and Wagner stayed on deck, unaware of what was going on elsewhere on the boat. Walken described the moment they realized Natalie was gone as extremely upsetting. He and Wagner began searching the yacht and calling out her name before realizing she might have gone overboard. Walken said there were no sounds of a struggle or signs of foul play, just the painful discovery that she had vanished. He stressed that it had been an accident, made worse by the alcohol, cold temperatures, and rough water that night. Trying to put an end to the ongoing rumors, Walken firmly denied any foul play or personal involvement. He shared his frustration over the long-running suspicions that have followed both him and Wagner, stating clearly that there was no secret or dark plan behind what happened. He said they did everything they could once they noticed she was missing, but by then, it was out of their hands. Still, Walken's statement didn't bring the investigation to a close. Although he insisted that Natalie Wood's death was accidental, the case remains open. Authorities continue to look for answers, and the mystery has yet to be fully resolved. In 2018, Robert Wagner was again identified as a person of interest by the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department, which added more pressure to the claims that he may have been involved in what happened that night. Wagner has continued to deny these claims, saying he had no part in Wood's death. Yet, his status as a person of interest has left people asking more questions about what really went on aboard the Splendor. The statements made by Dennis Davern, the yacht's captain, when the case was reopened in 2011, made things even more complex. Davern claimed that Wagner had been involved in a heated argument with Wood shortly before she disappeared. These claims led investigators to take another look at the circumstances surrounding her death. Although much of the focus has been on Wagner, Walken has also faced his share of public attention. He has worked with authorities during the investigation and even gave a private interview to detectives. However, Walken asked for the details of that interview to remain private, which has left certain questions without answers. This request for confidentiality has only deepened the public's curiosity, with many wondering what Walken might know but hasn't chosen to reveal. The Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department has said the case is still open, although no major updates or new charges have been made public. The investigation has kept Natalie Wood's death in the spotlight for years, with each new detail drawing attention once again. Christopher Walken has called it a tragic accident in an attempt to bring some closure, but that explanation hasn't convinced everyone, not the public, and not all investigators. The bruises found on Wood's body, Davern's changing statements, and the gaps in everyone's version of events have kept the case surrounded by uncertainty. So, where does the case currently stand? And will we ever know the full story? Now, 81, Christopher Walken is still active in the film industry. His acting career spans more than 50 years and continues to move forward. Famous for his unusual characters and instantly recognizable voice, Walken has been part of countless movies and TV shows, keeping his reputation as one of the most adaptable actors in the business. From standout roles in The Deer Hunter to recent appearances in films like The War with Grandpa, he's managed to stay in demand in a constantly evolving entertainment world. Outside of his work, Walken has mostly kept his personal life out of the spotlight. He's been married to casting director Georgianne Thon since 1969. Their marriage, lasting over 5 decades, has stood the test of time. They chose not to have children, a choice Walken has explained was because of the demands of his acting schedule. Despite the pressures of Hollywood, their relationship has lasted, and when he's not filming, Walken enjoys a quieter life at home with his wife. The questions surrounding Natalie Wood's death have not affected Walken's popularity. He's still admired by fans and well-regarded within the industry. His talent for delivering memorable performances has helped him remain a respected figure in Hollywood. Although the events of 1981 still follow him, they haven't taken over the public's view of his work. Walken has kept his reputation as a serious actor focused on his career. Still, the fact that Walken has chosen to stay silent about some parts of the case has left room for more questions. While he did eventually speak out, there are parts of the night he hasn't discussed publicly, which has led to continued speculation. His decision not to address everything in detail has left some people and parts of the media unsatisfied. Walken's comments may have given a few answers, but the mystery surrounding Natalie Wood's death is still unresolved. With the case still open, many questions are yet to be answered. Was it really just a tragic accident, or is there more to it? Let us know your thoughts in the comments, and be sure to like, share, and subscribe for more stories from Hollywood's most puzzling moments.